In a shocking turn of events, China is beginning to lose hope as the Philippines unveils a devastating new arsenal that could change everything in the West Philippine Sea. China never expected this. Now they're scrambling to deal with the power shift in the region. The Philippines, yes, the Philippines just pulled back the curtain on a shiny new arsenal of weapons. We're talking about a serious upgrade here, folks. This isn't just a few new toys, this is a full-blown transformation. No one saw it coming, but President Marcos has just equipped the Philippines with some of the most advanced and powerful weapons ever seen. And let me tell you, these aren't your grandma's rusty old rifles. These are state-of-the-art, cutting-edge pieces of military hardware. The kind of stuff that makes you sit up and take notice. We're talking serious firepower, the kind that makes dictators rethink their life choices. Heavy artillery, missile launchers, tanks and armored vehicles that can roll through any terrain. This is the kind of arsenal that changes the rules of the game. China, used to pushing everyone around, is suddenly looking a little less confident. They've been the dominant force in the region for so long, but now they're facing a new reality. They thought they had the West Philippine Sea on lockdown, a nice little private swimming pool for their warships, but the Philippines just threw a big unexpected wrench into their plans. But someone forgot to tell the Philippines that memo. They're out there patrolling the waters, standing their ground and showing the world that they're not going to be pushed around anymore. The game has changed, my friends, and China knows it. The balance of power in the region is shifting and everyone is watching to see what happens next. The Philippines has made a bold move and the world is taking notice. This is a new chapter in the story of the West Philippine Sea, and it's going to be one for the history books. Remember when your little brother suddenly hit a growth spurt and started beating you at arm wrestling? Yeah, that's the Philippines right now. They've been quietly bulking up their military and the world is just starting to notice. We're talking cutting-edge missiles, next-generation fighter jets, warships bristling with more guns than a Schwarzenegger movie. And the best part, they're not afraid to show it off. Military parades, press conferences, you name it, the Philippines is making sure everyone knows they mean business. You can almost hear the phones ringing off the hook in Beijing. Chinese officials are scrambling like cockroaches in a dirty kitchen. Remember all that bluster about the 9-dash line and indisputable sovereignty? Yeah, that's not aging well. China thought they could bully their way around the region, but the Philippines just called their bluff. And to make matters worse, the world is watching. It's one thing to push around a smaller country when no one's paying attention. It's quite another when the global spotlight is shining brightly on your every move. Let's talk tech, baby. We're not talking about rusty old hand-me-downs here. The Philippines went all out, snapping up the latest and greatest military hardware. We're talking supersonic missiles that can reach Beijing quicker than you can order takeout. We're talking stealth technology that makes their jets invisible to radar, or at least that's what the brochure says. These weapons are so advanced, they make the stuff China's been showing off look like relics from the Stone Age. And the best part, they're designed to take out ships, planes, and, well, let's just say China isn't exactly known for its land-based military prowess. Section 5. The dragon's roar turns to a whimper. Remember all that talk about China being an unstoppable military superpower? Yeah, about that. The dragon is looking a little less fierce these days. They're used to dictating terms, not reacting to them, but the Philippines has flipped the script. China's whole strategy relied on intimidation. They figured they could just flex their military muscles and everyone else would back down. But the Philippines isn't backing down. They're standing their ground and suddenly China doesn't know what to do. It's like they brought a tank to a knife fight and the other guy just pulled out a bazooka. Section 6. The world holds its breath. The West Philippine Sea has long been a flashpoint of tension, a region where the interests of many powerful nations converge. It's a strategic waterway, rich in resources and vital for global trade, but beyond its economic importance, it's a symbol of national pride and sovereignty for the countries that border it. The West Philippine Sea is a bit like the high school cafeteria. Everyone's watching to see who sits where and who picks a fight. Just like in a cafeteria, alliances are formed and rivalries are born. The stakes, however, are much higher here. Territorial claims overlap, and the potential for conflict looms large. And right now, all eyes are on the Philippines. This archipelago nation finds itself at the center of a geopolitical storm. With its strategic location and long-standing territorial disputes with China, the Philippines is a key player in this high-stakes game. Its military is on high alert, conducting exercises and strengthening its defenses. Countries that used to be afraid to even whisper a word against China are suddenly finding their voices. Nations like Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia are becoming more vocal, challenging China's expansive claims. Protests are erupting, and diplomatic channels are buzzing with activity. The region is witnessing a shift in dynamics as smaller nations band together to counterbalance China's influence. Alliances are shifting, diplomatic cables are flying faster than a toupee in a hurricane, and new partnerships are being forged. The United States is reaffirming its commitments to its allies, while countries like Japan and Australia are stepping up their military cooperation. The landscape of international relations is evolving rapidly, with old alliances being tested and new ones emerging, and everyone is trying to figure out what this means for the balance of power. Analysts and strategists are working around the clock, dissecting every move and countermove. The balance of power in the Asia-Pacific region is delicate, and any misstep could have far-reaching consequences. The world watches with bated breath as the situation continues to unfold. The US, Japan, Australia, even Vietnam, they're all watching with a mix of shock and, dare I say, a little bit of hope. Hope that a peaceful resolution can be found and that the region can avoid descending into conflict, but also hope that this moment of tension can lead to a more balanced and stable order in the West Philippine Sea. The world holds its breath, waiting to see what happens next. Section 7. Marcos Master, Strategist or Maverick. Say what you will about President Bongbong Marcos, but the man knows how to make an entrance. He's only been in office for a short while, but he's already shaken things up more than a blender at a smoothie bar. Some say he's a strategic genius playing four-dimensional chess while China is stuck on checkers. Others say he's a risk-taker, a maverick who's not afraid to rattle the dragon's cage. Whatever you believe, one thing's for sure. Marcos is not afraid of a fight, and he's not backing down from anyone. Section 8, China's endgame. What happens next? So the big question is, what's China going to do about all this? With tensions rising and the world watching closely, China's next move is critical. They've got a few options, none of them good. Each path they could take comes with its own set of risks and potential consequences. They could try to up the ante, sending more warships to the region and flexing their military muscles even harder. This show of force might be intended to intimidate their adversaries and assert dominance in the West Philippine Sea. But that risks escalating things into a real conflict, something nobody wants. A military confrontation could have devastating effects not just for the region, but for global stability as well. They could try to squeeze the Philippines economically, slapping on tariffs and sanctions. By leveraging their economic power, China might hope to coerce the Philippines into compliance. But that would just push the Philippines closer to the US and its allies. Strengthening these alliances could backfire on China, leading to a more united front against them. Or, and this is the least likely option, they could, try talking things out like civilized adults. Engaging in diplomatic negotiations could potentially lead to a peaceful resolution. But let's be honest, diplomacy isn't exactly China's strong suit. Historically, their approach has been more about asserting power than seeking compromise. Another possibility is that China might face international sanctions if they continue their aggressive stance. The global community could impose economic penalties, further isolating China on the world stage. Meanwhile, other countries in the region might ramp up their military presence, conducting joint exercises and strengthening their defenses. This could lead to an arms race, increasing the risk of accidental clashes. There's also the realm of cyber warfare. China could engage in digital espionage and cyber attacks to undermine their opponents without direct military confrontation. The West Philippine Sea is a crucial maritime route for international trade. Any conflict here could disrupt global shipping lanes, affecting economies worldwide. Additionally, the environmental impact of a conflict in this region cannot be ignored. The West Philippine Sea is home to diverse marine life, and military activities could have devastating ecological consequences. The history of the West Philippine Sea is fraught with disputes and tensions. Understanding this context is essential to grasp the gravity of the current situation. Ultimately, the hope is that cooler heads will prevail and a diplomatic resolution can be found. The stakes are high, and the world is watching closely to see what happens next. Section 9. The tide is turning. For decades, China has acted like the West Philippine Sea was their own personal playground. They built artificial islands, harassed fishermen, and threatened their neighbors with impunity, showing no signs of stopping. But the Philippines just drew a line in the sand, or should I say the water, making a bold statement. The message is clear. China's reign of intimidation is over, and a new era begins. The balance of power is shifting, and the little guy, armed with some seriously big guns, is standing up for itself, ready to defend its waters. Section 10. A new dawn in the Pacific. The situation in the West Philippine Sea is still tense, and things could change at any moment. But for now, the Philippines has shown the world that even a David can stand up to a Goliath. And that, my friends, is something worth celebrating. The fight for freedom and sovereignty is never easy, but the Philippines is proving that it can be won. The future of the region and perhaps the world hangs in the balance. Stay tuned, folks, because this story is far from over.